Guys, we're just waiting for 2, 3 minutes for some more participants to join, and then we're going to start. Our speaker is here, just waiting for 2 more minutes, and then we're going to begin. I think we should let's start. Then obviously this is going to be up on our YouTube channel as well. So in case anyone missed this, they can listen to the recording later. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's just start. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for joining us over the weekend. We understand that weekend it's a little bit tough to do other things, but it's also good to have some more learning experiences and learn from people like Moshood. I'm going to tell you guys about him as well. Just a little about Atom Camp. I am Ikra Gilani from Atom Camp. Atom Camp is basically a continuous learning platform where an edtech platform. We provide a lot of trainings, courses, boot camps in data science, AI, and data engineering. We're working a lot in artificial intelligence, promoting and upskilling youth in Pakistan, bringing more opportunities for people in Pakistan, and trying to upskill them in data as much as we can. Today, we have, Mashood with us to talk about insights and innovation in AI. Of course, innovation in AI and insights Mashood will provide for sure. Just a little about him. I think he's done a lot of things, but I'm just going to summarize it and make sure that you guys get the gist of it because obviously his experiences are a lot. First of all, he's an experienced professional with great analytical skills, strengths in data science, ML, AI. Business intelligence, data analytics, performance management, Agile Methodology, and DevOps as well. He's a data scientist currently at Founder Enlightening. And I'll let Mashood also tell us a little about himself, what inspired him to start his journey in data science, in data, because he's not just done data science and other things as well. So please, over to you, Mashood. Please start with telling us if in case of any missed anything cool that you do and what inspired you to start your career in data.
What inspired me to start my career in data, I think that's a bit of a shocking part when I tried to tell people. I started off my career as a petroleum engineer, worked in as a risk and asset management for offshore oil and gas um, clients, and did this in consulting capacity basically. And at some point, I mean, going into conferences and seeing a lot of what which used to be done in the offshore and oil and gas space being replaced by automation and all of that. And one of those experiences was attending the offshore expo at Southampton here, and I saw what used to be done by a diver, a person, was to be done by robots with the strength of AI and robotics basically, and that really caught my attention. But then I really got into AI shockingly proper when I had a very serious sickness, and my sort of coping mechanism at that point was, I mean, because it was so serious, it was life threatening. So my sort of coping mechanism to get my head off what I was going through was just to learn something new. So sometimes I jokingly call myself an accidental data scientist because maybe if I wasn't sick, maybe I would still be in the offshore space, in the risk management space. But then it's been rewarding. About the passion, I would say I learned from the community. I was brought up by the community. When I say the community, the tech ecosystem really accommodates learning a lot. And that's why every sort of initiative that I've been involved in is always focused on the community. And it's huge what AtomCap is doing, literally aligns with what I represent as well. And this is some of the things that led to the formation of Applied AI Society, which is to help young people trying to get into data without the data background or technical skill, and we're able to train a lot of people in a space of less than 2 years. We've had 200 people walk into through the society, getting good employment. The next phase for us is literally to try and train the next set of entrepreneurs in that space. Also, in addition, I currently recently just founded the Health Interest Trust, which is a sort of NGO that helps to reshape the health sector in Nigeria. And the target is to serve as a sort of incubator lab for health tech startups, basically, which is one of the most underutilized space in Nigeria. A lot more. I was a senior contributor at the African Canadian Artificial Intelligence and Data Innovation Consortium, and also a mentor and senior contributor as well at the Data Science Network, which is the largest data community in Africa, amongst other things. I currently work for Founder Enlightening in consulting capacity, and what Founder Enlightening do is to help founders with less technical background to help them scale their startup. So I build AI data related stuff. So and that takes me to the last point, which is there's a vast range of opportunity in the data space. Aside the early point where I was focused on analytics and business intelligence, my focus has literally always been in product development around the use of AI and data. There's a lot of opportunity. You could actually be in operational capacity, for example, building models to get churn rates, building models to do predictive analysis, and all of that. There's a whole vast avenue of space. What's going to be hard is for you to want to get into all of them all at once. You can obviously pick a spot and then be an expert there. Personally, I like the startup environment because it's ever evolving and it's so challenging. So that's why then also it gives you the opportunity to probably touch almost all the space in data. And that's why when Ikra was introducing me, she was talking about the fact that I've done this, done that. You do the DevOps, you do the data engineering, you do the MLOps yourself because it's early stage startup, and then they don't have the capacity to have 100 team members. So it's just you doing what so many team members will do. Yeah. That's a bit of a boring introduction, but yeah, thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much. I think this is very inspiring and interesting as well that you've done so many things in, such a short span. And then you also said that you, help yourself learn all of those skills. So that's very interesting. And it gives me a lot of joy and also pride that what you do also aligns very closely with what Adam Camp is doing and aspire to doing. Obviously, we're not where nowhere near to where you are, but we aspire to be, inshallah, sometime over there. Let's start with Mashhood. My first question for you that now AI is, evolving, and there are a lot of there's a lot of boom in tech space. There are a lot of opportunities emerging for the youth as well. So please tell me, let's talk a little about that. Those emerging ethical guidelines as well that are shaping, development and deployment in AI solutions, especially in data sensitive sectors. So if we talk about that, what are some ethical guidelines that you would like to shed some light on?
Okay, so when it comes to ethics, law, and legislation, it's a huge bit of discussion around AI. And the first thing I always say is an economy would only be so rigid on ethics and regulation if you already started having growth in a particular area. And I remember recently a meeting with the uh, Minister for Digital Economy in Nigeria. He had a meeting with some AI experts in London here, and I was there. And one of the key things we talked about is some countries are obviously not ripe enough to focus on ethics at the beginning. The United States, the United Kingdom can actually focus on ethics right now, and that's because they're already experiencing huge amounts of growth in AI. And the reason is ethics sometimes can actually stifle growth. So if, for example, a child is about to start walking and you're already telling the child, don't walk this way, don't walk that way, you have to walk straight, you have to lift your head up, it's going to confuse the child so much. But then imagine you start teaching a child how to walk first, and then when the child start walking, then you teach the child how to walk right. So that's the relationship between ethics and um, AI development. But then um, Pakistan, probably similar to a space like Nigeria as well, probably require a lot of continuous growth in that space. Then when the growth start happening, you experience exactly the sort of demand that you need as an organization or a country to put ethics in place. That being said, there are a lot of regulation already going on. That there was a huge um, um, conference currently that held in the UK a few weeks ago, similar one held in the past in Europe, and this gave birth to a lot of regulation. GDPR being one of the most popular. Canada have the version, the United States have the version as well, but because of the tied trade responsibility in Europe, you have the GDPR marrying literally almost all the countries in Europe, and this established some of the guidelines for producing AI. Now, the biggest example I always give is the guidelines are there, but then there should be a sort of frameworks that tells you when you're impeding people's rights, when you're going away from reasonability around producing AI products. For example, in engineering, you have the risk matrix that tells you what kind of risk is allowable, what kind of risk is too high, what kind of risk is midpoint that needs to be managed very well. We need to have that sort of thing around AI, where if an AI invention doesn't affect human being, doesn't affect employability, doesn't leak people's secret, then we say it's clean and it's safe. But then if it turns into making life slightly uncomfortable, it goes into the yellow, which means you have to be careful. And then when it goes to the red, maybe it affects life, takes life, and all of that. We tend to be very careful. But while that is still a dream, the current sort of regulation is still very robust and impressive enough, especially in the case of data privacy and protection. There are ethical guidelines that obviously helps to guide how much you use data. In the health sector, for example, you use real life data to train machine learning algorithm, meaning you have to anonymize this data. You have to protect the sensitivity of the people who own the data. And this is a huge growth from the GDPR regulation. Bias and fairness is still an ongoing battle, obviously. When it comes to bias and fairness, regulations are obviously in place to ensure that AI, a lot of bias and unfairness is reduced with the effect of use of AI. But then there's always the argument, who's responsible for the bias? Is it the algorithm itself, which doesn't breathe or speak? Is it the person who made the algorithm, or is it the people? So the advice in this place is always you try to ensure that people are well represented in the team that produces AI products. For example, if you don't have a black person on the team, there's a chance that nobody will run a test on the AI algorithm that concerns the black person. The same thing if you don't have an Asian on a team, there's a chance that I mean, I will run a test that concerns me because that's what comes into my head first. You understand? So diversity in the team helps us to run a test and helps us to ensure that people adequately put relevant check in place when building AI algorithm. Transparency and explainability is a huge one as a result of what's it called GDPR laws as well, especially in the space of credit risk analysis. You don't tell me what my credit score is without explaining why it's low or high. This is because AI can be a sort of black box, especially for non-technical people. So if you're telling me AI gave a result that determines whether you should give me a loan or not, then you should be able to explain why I'm being denied a loan, for example. There are other spaces there, accountability and responsibility. That's one of the longest debates around AI ethics. If especially in the case of autonomous vehicle, if you drive a Tesla and you run into my car, who's responsible? Is it Tesla itself as a company? Is it the vehicle? Is it you who is the driver? And it's a lot of debate, and I think that's the area where a lot of legal professionals need to go into the AI space a lot. We have a lot of tech lawyers, but then those that focus specifically on AI, because this is purely a case of liability, and liability is a very complex space for people that are not lawyers like us. You understand? A lot of, finally, a lot of companies are going into designing ethics and regulatory framework to help guide companies. And I think the best thing, which is going to be my final take on this question, is companies that design AI products should have internal ethics and responsibility framework that helps you to check when you're transcending reasonability.
Thank you so much. And I think the examples that you gave make a lot of sense as well, and how, you've drawn that comparison of a child and a car and a company working as well. That's very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. Also, Mashud, you've worked in ML as well a lot, so you would know that. Could you please tell us a little about the most significant or recent advancements in ML models, and how are they impacting predictive analysis and decision-making process? Because we're talking about decision here as well and ethical guidelines about AI. So please tell us a little about that as well.
Okay, decision making. So one of the thing I typically always say to people with regards the discussions around this question is, with the advent of AI, there's a lot of fear about employment opportunity being lost or missed. But then I always say every sort of industrial evolution come with a risk and its own gain as well. There's some sort of employment that went with the first industrial revolution, but then some sort of employment came to fall with it as well. The same happened with the second, third, and we're literally industrial revolution 4.0 now, and it's obviously going to come with a lot of advantage and disadvantage. But the key thing that I think here, which you would probably relate with as well, is the generation coming out of the university now are probably the best generation when it comes to the critical thinking and decision making. You come from a generation. I mean, when I left the university some years back, our focus was always to get employment immediately, some level of pay and all of that. But you have a set of people that already have that, even when they were in first, second year of the university in this generation. So it's more about generation that build bosses, generation that builds critical thinkers, basically. And AI can have some sort of impact. And the biggest impact is going to be the fact that AI would affect, in the first place, is technical approach to solving problem might be slightly reduced, if that makes sense. But then solution and decision making would be on the increase, and that's very easy to know, because a lot of the ad hoc stuff that you do daily would probably get easily reduced, faster to delivered, because a lot of AI improvements and products out there. If you spend how much time to debug your code in the past, you probably get, depending on how much you can use some of these copilot tools and GPT tools or large language models, you can probably get to deliver your features a lot faster. But then it means if you need 20 people to do a task before, that might slightly be reduced, but you need more high level individual, in this case, people that are more critical when it comes to thinking and design decision making as well. And that's an hallmark of this generation of graduates that you're having from um, the university. So I think it's just about fitting that we have this sort of technology growth just about this time, because the high level of decision making and solutions are either. What are the advancements that have been happening recently? Some of them, for example, in deep learning, you see the huge growth around natural language processing and computer vision. The whole advancement around large language model really came to fore when Gan's algorithm, first of all, was out there. And Gan's algorithm is generative adversarial network, which is literally the birth of all of the generative model, basically. And where did this come from? Is the fact that when you have a challenge around solving zero data issue, which is one of the big things we were able to do so well in Founder Lightning, like I mentioned earlier, um, helping startups to build when they don't even have data, and how can you use your own strength to help them, even in the case of zero data challenges. And some of those cases brought about Gan's algorithm, where you generate images, that's when the issue of deep fake really became a thing. And also physics informed learning was a huge growth in AI at that point as well. But then over time, when the transformer model came around, and transformer model really shaped the way deep learning is being done, and this is the beginning of the loads of improvement around large language model, where you have the GPTs, generative pre-trained transformer, which is on the transformer model, as well as the BERT model as well, bidirectional encoder representation from transformer as well. And all of this gave us the huge breakthrough that we have today around large language model, which helps us to effectively do so many tasks when it comes to the use of languages and text and all those things. Now, we still argue that AI is becoming so intelligent, but sadly, I mean, shockingly rather, it's as impressive as it is, it's still at the early stage, still simple level, because it's not as intuitive as a human being you be. It doesn't do so many tasks at the same time. It only do exactly what you want. I mean, if you pass the Alan Turing test on it, maybe would not pass yet, but we still have a lot of time to go. Still part of the advancement again is advanced reinforcement learning, which helps you to solve a lot of significant issues around autonomous vehicle and strategic planning, where you build a model that learns from itself, from its own experience, at what points to itself. And that's why you see a lot of inventions this way goes around gamifying concepts to help you to push growth and all of that. Federated learning is another huge advancement in and around AI. And I mean, but then majority of what we see making the rounds with the noises is around large language model, because that directly affects businesses. Imagine you needing volume of data to run a typical NLP project, but right now you have a model where you just pay some amount, you can get your sentiment analysis done before in wink of an eye. You can get your what's it called, your topic modeling done as fast as you can get, and all of that, and all of the NLP tasks, which makes building products a lot faster and makes solving problem even more effective.
Thank you so much. I think you've explained it really well, and it makes a lot of sense now that we're talking about advancement in AI. And now, AI is evolving at such a rapid speed that it is aiding human processes and, for the workforce that we needed of human. Now, there are a lot of things that AI can do, but again, like you've mentioned, that it needs human to train it and to, tell AI to do tasks, certain tasks for us and perform certain analysis for us as per se. So building on to that, Mashood, please tell us a little about what sort of skill set is now required. And now that we see that, you've talked about generation as well, and now that this generation has certain different needs from the past generations, now that AI is aiding and facilitating the process. So what do you think now the, students who are graduating the new generations, what sort of skill set would you suggest them having to keep up with all these advancements in technologies and AI, being increased at such a rapid pace? So please tell us a little about.
Okay, I think that's subjective. It depends on what space you're in. It depends on what discipline. But then, I mean, in the room, we're probably talking a lot with data um, enthusiasts or data experts here. And in the past, a lot of the impact on businesses are around descriptive analysis, which is more of data, what we popularly refer to as data analytics, where you take data, you analyze, get insight, and write reports to inform business decision. And that's just so easy to guess why. The reason is you might typically want all the fancy skill set, but then the business owner is only concerned about what increases their earning, what gives them more money. And if you can tell them that, for example, Uber, if you're an analyst and you're telling Uber that this particular time of the day, there's going to be such people would have a lot of demand for Uber rides, so you should increase this particular the fare at this particular time as against the other time. Or, for example, in the summer, there's a high chance of so many short trips because obviously it's sunny and people would go out. But then in the winter, there's a very high chance of longer trips because people would only go out when it's important. Do you understand? So all of this analysis would help to make decision making. And you see a lot of time, one of the most underrated skill in data is actually data analytics itself. But and that's one of the key things I use to differentiate your level of competencies in data personally. I would say a junior data scientist would want to do everything, just wake up and build algorithms. But a senior data scientist would tell you when you need to build some sort of algorithm. It's not every time. If you want to analyze churn rates, it could just be the barest minimum of data analytics that solves it. So data analytics would always be in vogue rather. And I think at some point, almost every professional needs to have some sort of data analytics skill. You're an HR person, you would need to understand performance analytics. You're a risk person, you need to understand risk analytics and all of that. So that would never be out of vogue. But then what you cannot do without is critical thinking and problem solving attitude. So first of all, you don't see yourself with a position that was given to you. You see yourself firstly as a problem solver. And that helps you to be more inclined to solving problems. If your capacity is building dashboards, for example, you have tools. I mean, I had a meeting with someone recently that showed me a tool he has built, which combined um, large language models with spreadsheets, where a lot of you can write a single formula in Excel and it gives you a code on the Python interface and on the what's it called, your coding interface, and then vice versa. And what I told myself is we're getting to an era where technicality would slightly reduce, and that's very easy to know. I mean, you would ask yourself where are the huge inventors like the huge the guys that make the crazy inventors and inventions in the past. But then that's because a lot of problems are being solved, and we're getting more critical or more problem solving inclined, and that's why I keep mentioning that point. So when you get to a point where you have pandas these days, there's an automated one where you just write a single word and it gives you all the visualizations you need, then you know that your most incredible skill at this point is problem solving attitude, being able to come up with solution basically, because you have tools that automate majority of what you can do. Also, after aside decision making, predictive analytics is now becoming a very huge thing. A lot of companies want to use data to make incredible insights. Imagine people interacting with your platform and you keep that record, and then you wake up one day and decide to build some um, recommendation. If you're an e-commerce platform, and your recommender helps you to sell a lot more by giving people what they might not even know they even desire, because they buy one thing and it tells them the kind of thing that can help you to to put that together. So recommendation and the basic ML is going to be huge. Then if you're working for the big engineering firms, obviously computer vision, NLP, but I like to say that you need to start, you need to learn how to start working before you start jumping. So how about understanding your predictive analysis, descriptive analysis before aiming at the complex thing, which obviously has less job but higher pays? Because I mean, a student, after the reason for learning some of these things is either to build something of your own or to be able to make you so employable. So I think coming from analytics into predictive analysis itself, and then being able to bring all of this together with very, very good problem solving skill makes you a bit of a game changer.
Thank you so much for explaining in such simpler terms and for giving such a nice example that you have to first start walking and then jumping because you need to learn how to slowly get there, and it's always great to follow small and steady steps. That's great. Thank you so much and super insightful as well. Building on to that, Mashud, like you mentioned that performance and critical thinking, these are the things that are very important as well for organizations to keep a track of as well. And when we talk about performance and then performance management systems as well within organizations, so please tell us in what ways AI and ML are being utilized to optimize that performance and those performance management systems as well. We're talking about specifically performance within organizations.
Yeah, I mean, first off, one of the most popular use of the AI, basically when it comes to um, human resources, as always, which is the most flawed, is staff churn rate. But then over time, you tend to realize that it's not about people leaving or coming, it's about why they're leaving and why they keep staying. And that takes us to performance management. Performance management, you show, it helps you to understand the most important person in your business, which is the employee. And what best helps you to understand them better than what their feedback or their perception about your business is. So the biggest use of AI in performance management is to be able to personalize feedbacks from individuals. You analyze vast majority of people's data, and you're able to look at the communication pattern and be able to get project level of involvement and possible improvement that these people might have. So this is tailored back to each person's feedback. And the impressive thing here is you can do a lot of things with natural language processing on somebody's feedback. Number one, you can literally classify feedbacks to different sort of topic using topic modeling, and that helps you to know what the biggest pain points of employees are and what the biggest source of drop in performance might be. The other thing is you could also use some sort of entity named recognition to know the classification of the kind of entities that came up in the feedback. This could help you to know if a lot of the problem with performance in an organization has to do with the people or the location or the sort of customers or something. You're able to classify all of this in place, and these are the huge gifts that NLP gives us. And more importantly, you can also do your what's it called, to be able to know sentiment around a lot of this feedback. And these are things that in the past you do a lot of long model writing and all of that to get this done. But just a single prompt from ChatGPT or a large language model on this sort of query from the individuals or feedback helps you to be able to analyze that. The other thing with performance analysis is you can be able to check how much somebody gets into work. You can be able to analyze the trend. If an individual comes to work or logs into work so regularly every time, but then all of a sudden for a space of time, it gets dropped off, you'll be able to know if there's an issue with that person and then follow suit and ask what the problem is. Or you can actually even detect a pattern from the person. It could be the fact that this person is always dropping off work, maybe at a particular time, and then you're able to know if they've got personal challenges in that area. You can use it to automate, you can use AI to automate routine evaluation to be able to evaluate people's performance and know how much they are doing, the trend of their performance as well. Another important thing is to use by the management to use to predict talent management. Basically, you identify high potential. You know you can be able to predict the career path of employee based on certain number of data, or even a new employee you can specifically be able to predict how their performance might be in an organization based on specifically collected data. You can predict, you can identify skill gaps, you can know the kind of training to feedback to people and facilitate a sort of 360 sort of feedback loop. So feedback is not just from the top guys to the junior guys, but it goes the other way around, and it helps you to properly manage the whole um, employment base as a sort of ecosystem, basically. Yeah.
Thank you so much for explaining that. Honestly, that's very interesting and also fascinating to see how technology has evolved and how technology made our life easier by tracking so many things. And now that we're talking about performance as well, you do not need to take notes and stuff. And there's a lot that can just that just by reading data you can do. So thank you so much for explaining that. Building on to that, now that we see AI evolving and AI bringing more opportunities, but we also see the challenges that it brings because obviously technology is evolving, but it also needs people who can, play with it and smartly utilize it for the best use possible. So when it comes to implementing AI solutions, what do you think are the major challenges that we face, and how are they being addressed effectively as well? Just for our audience to have an understanding of it, that what are the solutions that we're working around, and how can we address the challenges as well?
I'll describe this with a very, very short similitude. So imagine a company that listens to the news very well and goes on LinkedIn, hears the big thing about AI and large language model, and then one day the CEO wakes up and thinks, "I need to get this done in my place of work." Now you put an advert out there to employ an AI expert. The AI expert who knows his job in the interview tells you what your limitations are and tells you what he thinks can be done in the immediate and gives you a very, very high bill of what is going to be paid. And then you think, is it not just AI? No, this guy is too expensive. Then you interview the next guy. The next guy lowballs himself and requests for a cheaper amount, but you unknown to you is a guy that just started learning AI, did a lot of projects, but never been in a production environment or in an actual work setting delivering AI or data science related services. You give him the job, he lowballs on the pay, you give him the job, and he gets there. He realizes you don't have data, and all that he's done all his life is to pick up jobs that have data, very clean data, and he uses them for solutions. You see him as a sort of magician that's supposed to deliver something, but then he gets confused. There's no data. Where do I start from? Now, this describes exactly all of the challenges around AI and data implementation. Firstly, there's no miracle or magic in AI.
I think we've lost Masood.
So
I
sorry.
think you're muted.
I don't know if that. Yeah, I don't know if that was from me. So sorry about that. All of a sudden, I just saw I was the only one.
No worries. That's completely all right. We're glad you're back.
Yeah. So what I was describing is the similitude I gave literally fully describe all of the problem around AI. The biggest problem with delivering AI solution is data. And because you're trying to learn from data to deliver or automate some set of steps or make life a lot easier, whatever AI, whatever solution AI is bringing can actually be solved without AI, but you're trying to use data to solve it. And the biggest problem is availability of data. And if you don't have data, you're as good as, I mean, AI is as good as a rule-based system is even far better than AI in the absence of data, basically. Now, being able to understand that you need to start with rule-based to be able to collect your data and be able to now get enough data that helps you to train your AI, it's a lot of knowledge that comes with experience. So that's the next thing. Lack of availability of experienced individual. Majority of those big so-called AI experts in the space these days, probably the maximum number of years experience, maybe 8 years or 9 years. A lot of people are just blowing out experiences based on the tiny bit of thing they have learned, and they use that to blow it out. So, lack of competence is a very huge thing, and that's why you hear a lot of people sit on a single task for so long, which can be delivered a lot faster with experience because you spend more time in decision making. Then the next thing is understanding what AI is, and that's why one of the biggest gifts in AI is the AI, the machine learning product delivery framework, CRISP DM, for example, which start from you understanding the organization or business goal, being able to know the pain points of the organization for the feature or product you're trying to deliver. A lot of people focus more on the technical and get lost in the fact that AI interacts with people, and then you need to understand what the pain point is a lot more. So that's why a typical machine learning engineer, for example, might actually spend 30% of their time engaging stakeholders. Because if you don't understand stakeholder requirements, you might actually miss a lot of value in what it is to be delivered. So that's another a tough part that gets missing because it's one thing that a lot of people ignore. We just get engrossed into the technical. I want to build a model. I want to do this. So those are actually key things that I think are sort of challenges in building an AI system.
Thank you so
And
much
more
for
and
explaining that.
more importantly, which obviously if I miss this, then that's a crime, is lack of computing capacity. AI is actually very, very intensive system to deliver. And that's why having organizations like AWS, Google Cloud, having the open AIs and all of that provides either the infrastructure to build an AI system or maybe a sort of API that you can key into to make your work a lot faster. A lot of what you can build with ChatGPT or OpenAI, if you decided to build it on yourself, the amount of money you spend on computing resources and capacity is going to be so huge. And that's why you hear that an AI system, AI company today generates hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in funding, but then they struggle to make profit because more than 80% of it is spent to get computing capacity and resources in place. And more recently, we saw all the huge growth in OpenAI, and then just to wake up yesterday and find out the CEO has been relieved of his position by the board. It's one of the biggest challenges. Recently, I think one of the Microsoft also released a statement about the fact that Copilot is still lacking in profits again because all of these things are capital intensive, requires a lot of capacity, computing capacity, and that's where all of the money goes. So while OpenAI and GitHub are in the news for building huge AI products, NVIDIA are the ones smiling into the market because that's where bulk of the expenses goes into, and it's actually one of the biggest challenges, possibly on the same level with data.
Thank you so much for talking about that as well and for giving us these examples as well. Mashud, you spoke about the growth in AI as well. I'm going to ask you a bit of a personal question here as well, just for a student and audience to get an idea. You obviously have a journey that you've followed, and then you've done a lot of things, and then now you're at a point where you can call yourself a data scientist, and I'm sure at a place that where you're also earning decent amount of money after learning all those skills and following that path. So what's that one advice that you would give to youth now seeing all of this growth in technology? Would you suggest them to come and take advantage of all these opportunities that AI creating and take it as a career path as well?
Okay, so if someone is learning AI afresh, I ask two questions, and these two questions are actually key. The first thing is what's your stage in life? If you're learning AI or you're going into data to make money immediately, then I'll say the safe bet is to go into data analytics and the likes. Um, Slightly more easier for you to understand, less coding required. And then if you're coming from a business background, you can apply your business experience in that area and you can easily grow. Not like it's completely easy, but because you can bring your business experience into it and help you to grow. But if you're the kind of person that maybe in the university and you need something that sustains you for a long time, I'll say steadily going into data science, learning. And one of the key things for me is be honest in your learning because it's a very, very long journey. Run away from people who tell you that you can learn data science in 6 months or 2 months. You can be lucky to be 6 months in and get an internship or a good placement where you now continuously learn and grow. I mean, I still learn and grow where I am because obviously I get new tasks that I probably haven't done before, which is the next point I would say is that see yourself as a person who is more of a problem solver than the position that you're being given. I think I've mentioned that a few times already. And the key. Not again.
It's completely all right.
Yeah. So the key thing about seeing yourself more of a problem solver is you can find yourself in an environment where you need to do new thing, and openness to solving problem would make you more research inclined. So if you're looking for comfort where it's always something you know that you do, then maybe data might not be the space for you because as a data scientist you have a wide range of knowledge and you can be called upon to solve a lot of problems. So being very open to your knowledge base and being open to try new things, being research inclined, to be able to explore, you have to be very, very explorative basically. And the key thing is you need to see yourself more as an individual that is providing a solution that you don't know how to do in the first place, but you don't have a choice to learn and deliver. So at times you might be faced with a task that you haven't done before. Being able to quickly turn research into a result would be a very key value for you in the journey.
Thank you so much for giving such a valuable advice, I'm sure, because you've followed a path and you've done so many things in your career, your journey by now. So I'm sure people would take your advice very seriously. Also, Mashood, I would like to bring your, attention a little here. And the education system here in Pakistan is unfortunately not very at par, and it's not like competing with the market still now. Because there are a lot of advancements in technology, but unfortunately, we have not been able to sort of take help from that or bring those opportunities for a student in Pakistan, and we're unfortunately lacking in that. So which is why Atom Camp try to provide some sort of relief or a platform for youth and audience to come along and then starts their journey somehow. I mean, of course, you cannot learn data science or even any of those skills specifically related to data in just a few months. It's a continuous learning process, and you have to continuously learn and then get somewhere perhaps in your life. So please talk a little about role of that mentorship in life of students as well. Did you have any mentors as well when you were starting your career, or were you, when you were trying to were struggling sort of to find your path and where you have to go? So would you encourage students to reach out to mentors as well and take their advice and listen to what they're saying as well?
Okay, I think you already answered it. Basically, um, career plan and growth has to be intentional. Normally, what I do is every year I have a learning plan for myself, what I aim to achieve and what that will lead to. I draft it out at the beginning of every year. And what that led me to is I'm able to come up with constraints that might affect me doing it or not. And one of the biggest thing, that the most expensive one, is always the space of a mentor. And every part of my journey, I've always had a mentor. I remember when I go into data, I was actually a well-paid professional on my own. I was a risk analyst doing very well. But one of the first mentor that I had looked at my profile and he was like, "Why are you coming to me? Because your profile looks like it was better than mine." And then I told him, "You obviously have to learn from people's experience. So the mentor is that person that must have fallen only for you to walk, is the person that must have made a mistake in the past so you don't make those mistakes. And most times, it's if you want to accelerate your growth, you need to have a mentor. So every stage in my life, I always have a mentor. When I started learning data, what I did was I go online, I read a lot of blogs that people write, I check their LinkedIn and Twitter profile, and I message them to, if they want to be my mentor. I come up with some sort of proposal on what I could do and all of that. I think on average every month, and this is not me just saying it for numbers, it's an actual fact. On average, every month, I can set up to like 100 messages to possible mentors to help guide me through. Sometimes I don't get responses back, maybe just two of them will reply. But the two that would reply would actually end up being very valuable. And a mentor would actually be the one to advise you that the learning you're doing for too long is not the most important thing for you, but you need to get your hands dirty. That was one of the advices I got from a mentor. You're learning for too long. You need to start doing projects. You need to start getting your hands dirty. You need to start delivering projects, deploying, monitoring them, and all of that. So at every stage, I always have a mentor. Where I work currently, I'm in an environment that helps non-technical founders to build startups. I have a mentor in within, whether he knows it or not, that I know his experience has always been rubbing off for me. And you can have a mentor in different ways. It could be for specific reasons, maybe just for the technical capacity. It could be the fact that the mentor's career projection or growth resonates with what you want and you think you can learn from their growth. It could be from a distance, you're just monitoring their growth and trying to see how that can affect the way you do things as well. I watched a documentary today where Harry Kane talked about watching documentaries of Michael Jordan and how and Tommy Bradley, how Tommy Brady, how that affects his own career as well. These are the effects of mentorship. Mentorship can also be direct, where you actually have some sort of direct interaction with them, and they also pour into you some of the experience that make them what they are. To round that up, I would say nobody actually grows alone. Nobody grows alone. You need to learn as a part of the community, and that's one of the biggest gifts I've gotten coming into tech. I mean, coming from the corporate side, where you want to protect what you know, you want people to see you as a star. The tech ecosystem is one where someone builds something amazing and makes it open source for everybody to learn from. So you need to be part of the community. It even makes you more realistic about what you know, because you now understand that you thinking you don't know enough, you might actually be better than a lot of your peer when you move around. And more importantly, to close it up, right? Also, as much as you're um, scouting around to get mentors, try in the little capacity of what you know to also pick up somebody to mentor as well. Most of the best things that I've learned was actually when I try to teach people.
Thank you so much. Honestly, that's very, very kind of you, Mashud, to share all of these things with us. And it's been such a pleasure talking to you, learning from you, and you've shared some great insights with us, truly about innovation. So I think and we have made such a great resource, and I'm very, very happy to share it with our students, inshallah, later as well. And for the audience, thank you so much for joining and for giving us your time. I wish you all the best in all that you do. And thank you so much for, all that you do and for giving us your such important time and for talking to us and for answering my questions. I have personally learned so much, and it's honestly, truly been a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you so much for doing this on a weekend as well.
It's a pleasure to be a part of this and also to share my tiny bit of experience in. I mean, it's a journey that you keep going on. It's never a destination. It's a continuous improvement. Is a journey. So whilst I'm improving as well, I'm sharing part of it here, and it's a pleasure to be in this space. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Very, very kind of you. I'll definitely stay in touch and keep learning from you and all that you share on your profile as well, and keep sharing with other people as well. Thank you so much and have a really nice day.
You too.
I wish you all the best.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.